Okay, so the last video went over some of the structure of the heart and how the blood flowed through. Now we're going to talk about the electrical system of the heart. And again, like I said last video, I'm a simple guy, so I'm going to do a simple drawing of the heart. Don't need anything too terribly complicated. Alright, so here's the heart, and real quick we're just going to label the chambers real quick. We got the right atria, the left atria, got the right ventricle, got the left ventricle. So let's go through how the electricity goes through the heart. So if everything is functioning correctly, patient's going to be in what's called sinus rhythm or normal sinus rhythm. The word sinus literally means that heart rhythm started at the sinoatrial node. And this is also a lot of times as a slang word referred to as the pacemaker of the heart. So that's the primary pacemaker. Everything's correct, normal, healthy 18-year-old SA node, the sinoatrial node is going to be running the beat. So when a beat goes out from the SA node, it's going to shoot electricity over to the atria, and then the electricity is going to come down like this, because the atria are going to squeeze blood down. So the first thing that happens before they start squeezing is these two valves. This is the tricuspid, this is the mitral or bicuspid valve. They open up and a whole bunch of blood just falls down from the atria into the ventricles. Then the atria's job is to squeeze real hard and push some extra blood into the ventricles. This is kind of like pulling a rubber band back so that you can shoot it farther. The farther you pull the rubber band back, the farther it goes. When the atria squeeze, one of the things that happens is they then overfill the ventricles. So this wall of the ventricle kind of squeezes out and it makes some more room. We'll just kind of draw how this is then. So the ventricle wall gets kind of bowed out a little bit instead of, here's the normal location. So when that wall gets stretched out, it's like pulling a rubber band back. Then when the ventricle squeezes, it's able to squeeze extra hard and push extra fast and lots of extra strength. And then you've got a stronger beat and more blood flows throughout the body. The description of that, it's something called Starlings Law. And the Frank Starling, you'll probably have it in your textbook, or you can go to Wikipedia or Google. You'll find all about that, but basically it says the more you stretch that ventricle out, the bigger the squeeze and the more blood's going to get shot out every single heartbeat. So it's a way for the heart to basically beat better and faster. So anyway, so going back. So the sinus rhythm, the atria squeeze, they push extra blood down into the ventricles. And so then this electricity, it all kind of gets gathered up, and you've got a spot here called the AV junction and the AV node. And the AV literally means atrioventricular, so it's that connection between the atria and the ventricles. So all this electricity, most of this connector here is going to block the electricity. So I'm just kind of drawing that here because we don't want the electricity to just go shooting down into the ventricles willy-nilly. That's going to be a bad heart rhythm. We'll talk about those in another video. So the electricity normally gets blocked, and it only gets to go over here to this AV junction, and the electricity gets kind of gathered up right here on the left. It slowly goes through the AV junction, and then after it gets through the AV junction, then the electricity is going to shoot down to the ventricles. And so it goes down these two pathways. This one is called the right bundle branch. This one's called the left bundle branch. So the electricity shoots down here real fast to the bottom of the heart, and then it's got to kind of ricochet up and around, and the ventricles, they actually squeeze from the bottom up. So this is the only time that this kind of simplistic drawing of the heart might screw a person up, is because the ventricles squeeze from the bottom up, because you've got the big, huge aorta. It actually kind of starts right about here and goes up, aorta, and then here you've got the pulmonary artery, and it squeezes up, and these two kind of wrap around, and they kind of, you know, they're the great vessels, and before you're born there's a little connector between them, and there's a whole bunch of complicated stuff. But anyway, so the electricity, it goes, connects at the AV junction and goes to the AV node, shoots down real fast down the bundle branches, the right bundle branch, left bundle branch block, gets to the bottom of the heart. All of these things down in the bottom of the heart that sometimes will, they got a fancy name. These are the Purkinje Fibers. And so that's this area and this area. And like I said, they're going to squeeze from the bottom up to shoot the blood out of those two blood vessels. Now, we talk a lot of times about what the intrinsic rate of the heart is. So which part of the heart has what kind of heart rate. And I find people, you know, get this confused a lot. So I started describing it to people like a skyscraper. Now, I don't live in a big city, but I've watched a lot of TV shows about big cities, and people always want to live in the penthouse, way up at the top. The higher up you live, the better. You got a better view, and you don't have neighbors that are really loud living above you. And so the penthouse on my little diagram here is floors 60 to 100. Anything in that range is the penthouse, and you're really happy. And so the penthouse corresponds to any of the heart rates up here in the atria. Generally speaking, anything that's a sinus rhythm, the normal heart rate is between 60 and 100. Then we've got this AV junction and AV node. And the normal heart rate for the AV junction and the AV node is between 40 and 60. And then you've got the ventricles down here. And any heart rhythm coming from these Purkinje fibers is going to be in that 20 to 40 range. So a ventricular rhythm, if you're looking at the heart rhythm, the rate's 36, and there's wide QRSs. You go, hey, that seems like a ventricular rhythm because it's between 20 and 40. And then any heart rate below 20, nobody wants to live on the ground floor in a big city. So these are the agonal rhythms. So anything below 20 is they are fixing to die. Agonal rhythm, the heart's probably not going to beat enough blood around the body, and we're going to be done soon. So going back, kind of covered a lot of stuff in this video. Sinus rhythms start at the SA node, and they have a rate between 60 and 100. The electricity, the electricity goes through the atria, squeezes the blood down into the ventricles. That's the Starlings Law that lets the ventricles squeeze extra hard. Then that electricity gathers at the AV junction and the AV node, and it kind of has a little bit of pause there because you want the blood to get down into the ventricles before the ventricles start squeezing up. So then the electricity goes down the right bundle branch and the left bundle branch down to the Purkinje fibers, and then they actually squeeze from bottom up because that's the pulmonary artery, and the aorta actually exit up, going up and out of the heart. And the normal rate for that AV junction and AV node, if that's controlling the heart, it's going to be 40 to 60. And if the ventricles are in charge, you're going to have a rate of 20 to 40. This will become way more important in another video when we go over the various types of heart blocks. So thanks. I hope this was helpful.